The first time investigator student Xelarr saw a human eat a gas station burrito, he nearly filed for planetary quarantine. Hovering silently in the corner of the observation room of the Intergalactic Nutritional Research Exchange, Xelarr's secondary eyes twitched in disbelief. He'd been assigned a Level 4 human metabolic survey, an academic rite of passage for any serious xenobiologist. The goal was simple: observe, record, and understand how humans processed nutrients. What he hadn't expected was to begin his assignment by watching a man in a faded flannel shirt devour a plastic-wrapped cylinder of questionable meat and cheese warmed by microwave radiation. Joshua Tanner, the man had introduced himself cheerfully, mouth still half full, but everyone calls me Josh. Xelarr adjusted the filters on his cranial sensor array. That food item contains over 47 synthetic additives, including compounds your species uses to degrease industrial engines. Josh wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Tastes better hot. Xelarr documented the moment with a mental note. Subject demonstrates complete disregard for chemical composition of ingestibles. This was going to be a long study. 2 weeks later, Xelarr, formerly known as Xelarr, Unit 12 of the Varnak Biocognitive Guild, had already filled 3 data cores with footage of Josh consuming everything from pickled pig's feet to something called flamin' hot mac and cheese. The dietary range was not only vast, but fundamentally reckless. Xelarr had never encountered a species capable of digesting processed plastics, extreme salt concentrations, or what humans referred to as Josh, Xelarr said during their 4th meal observation, "You understand that many of these substances are not only non-nutritive, but actively corrosive?" Josh was sitting cross-legged on his apartment floor, poking at a paper plate of deep-fried funnel cake. "Sure. That's what stomach acid is for, right? Burn it all down." Xelarr leaned forward. "Your own hydrochloric acid could dissolve soft metals, but your stomach lining remains intact?" "Most of the time," Josh shrugged. "Unless you get ulcers, but that's more of a stress thing." Xelarr paused his recording. "You voluntarily consume these substances while under emotional duress?" Josh grinned. "That's the best time for junk food, man. You gotta try a chili dog when you're sad. Changes your whole week." Later that evening, Xelarr accessed the Varnak Guild's dietary database and cross-referenced over 10,000 species. None had evolved to process such a staggeringly wide and toxic array of consumables. Even the Carthil, a race known for metabolizing raw ammonia, would have died from a single slice of gas station pizza. The following week, Xelarr arranged for a controlled trial. "I require your participation in a metabolic tolerance study," Xelarr announced as Josh adjusted the thermostat in his cluttered living room. "Are you cooking? Because last time you tried to make soup, my microwave shorted out." "I will source all food items from your planet," Xelarr clarified. "You are to consume a curated selection. I will monitor your vitals." Josh folded his arms. "You're not going to poison me, are you?" "Unlikely. I've selected items already deemed safe by your regulatory agencies." "Those guys let hot dogs exist, so I'm not sure that means much," Josh muttered. "All right, let's do it." The trial began with a bag of neon orange puffed corn snacks coated in artificial cheese powder. Josh consumed them without hesitation. "Describe your symptoms," Xelarr prompted. Josh licked his fingers. "Mild thirst, craving for root beer, no nausea, a little regret." Next came a deep-fried Twinkie, followed by a can of processed meat log, and then something called nuclear ramen, a noodle cup marketed as 5 times spicier than death. By the end of the meal, Josh was sweating and clutching his stomach. "Okay," he groaned. "Now I feel something. This might be regret number 2. Xelarr examined the biometrics. Heart rate elevated, blood pressure up, core temperature increased by 2 degrees. But no organ failure, no vomiting, no convulsions. "Your internal systems are compensating," Xelarr noted. "You are experiencing metabolic strain, but your liver function remains stable." "My liver's a champ," Josh mumbled, lying back on the couch. Xelarr uploaded the data to the exchange's central server, where it caused a minor panic. One analyst demanded a full quarantine of Earth's food exports. Another simply wrote "how" in all capital letters and logged off indefinitely. Then things got more complicated. 3 days after the trial, Josh collapsed. Xelarr found him on the kitchen floor, pale and sweating. "Josh?" Josh coughed and winced. "Stomach hurts. Real bad this time." Xelarr scanned him with a portable med analyzer. "Elevated white blood cells, internal inflammation. I will take you to a human hospital." Josh shook his head. "No insurance. Just give me a minute." "You may be experiencing appendicitis," Xelarr said. "The organ may rupture." Josh grimaced. "Fine. Help me up." The hospital wait time was 4 hours. By the time Josh saw a doctor, he was barely conscious. A CT scan confirmed a ruptured appendix. Emergency surgery followed. Xelarr waited in the corner of the sterile recovery room, watching monitors flicker. Human medicine was crude compared to Varnak's standards, but effective. The appendix was removed, the infection controlled. Josh woke up groggy, tubes in his arm. "Didn't think that was going to be the thing that got me." Xelarr tilted his head. "You regularly consume substances that corrode synthetic tubing, yet a vestigial organ nearly ends your life?" Josh blinked. "Yeah, life's funny like that." It took 2 weeks for Josh to regain normal mobility. The surgeon instructed him to avoid solid food for several days, then gradually return to normal eating. Xelarr hovered nearby during each meal. "You're eating oatmeal," he observed one morning. Josh nodded. "Doctor's orders. Bland. Safe. Boring. Do you intend to resume your prior habits?" Josh looked thoughtful. "Not right away. Might ease back into it. Maybe just 1 taco truck a week." Xelarr logged this as behavioral adaptation, moderate caution post-trauma. Still, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. In the months that followed, Xelarr expanded his study. He attended human barbecues, potlucks, and college campus food fairs. He observed a man eat an entire jar of pickled eggs on a dare. Another drank a milkshake laced with ghost pepper extract for social media likes. One woman consumed 22 slices of pizza in a televised contest, vomited, and tried again. Each time, Xelarr recorded the same baffling trend. Short-term suffering, long-term survival. "Your species," he told Josh one evening, "has weaponized digestion into a sport." Josh shrugged. "You gotta get your calories somehow. You actively challenge your physiological limits for entertainment." Well, we also jump out of planes for fun." "You ever been to a monster truck rally?" "I have. It was loud." Josh laughed. "That's the point." Xelarr presented his final report to the Varnat Guild 1 Earth year after beginning his study. His thesis was titled Homo sapiens and the Gastronomic Abyss, a case study in willful digestive endangerment. It was received with disbelief, reviewed 4 times, and finally approved with a warning tag: "Caution species exhibits voluntary consumption of biohazards." When Xelarr returned to Earth, he found Josh healing well, though now addicted to smoothies and vitamin supplements. "I take fiber now," Josh said proudly, lifting a bottle of psyllium husk powder. "Doctor says I'm doing great." Xelarr nodded. "You have, in some limited sense, evolved." Josh grinned. "You ever try a peanut butter pickle sandwich?" Xelarr made a low tone of distress. Josh laughed. "I'll make you one. You won't die." "Probably." Xelarr watched as Josh spread peanut butter onto white bread and layered on dill pickles with the kind of enthusiasm reserved for wild inventions and reckless chemistry. He recorded the moment, quietly filed it under ongoing anomalies, and accepted that he would never fully understand Earth's most dangerous digestive weapon, the human appetite. End of Part 1. The digestive research wing aboard Orbital Platform 9E was kept at a steady 21 degrees Celsius, with filtered air scrubbed of all scent molecules, standard protocol for interspecies biological observation. But the moment Josh stepped through the airlock, he wrinkled his nose. "Smells like someone left a biology textbook in a sauna," he muttered. "No ambient odors are present," Xelarr replied, ushering him into the decontamination corridor. "Your olfactory receptors may be reacting to sterilization compounds." Josh scratched the back of his neck. "Or I'm allergic to being judged. You guys ever heard of ambient lighting or a plant or something?" Xelarr ignored the commentary and handed him a pale gray garment. "You must wear this for the duration of the study. It monitors perspiration, epidermal shifts, and subdermal reactions." Josh held it up and stared. "This looks like a wetsuit for a lizard." "Correct. It is modeled after the Varnac juvenile exolayer, flexible, antimicrobial, and resistant to digestive vapors." "Vapors? What kind of vapors do you think I'm going to be producing?" Xelarr gestured toward the primary analysis chamber. "We will begin with ingestion of a terrestrial product classified under your food code system as snack cake. You selected it yesterday." Josh followed, adjusting the suit as he walked. "You mean the green ones, filled with mint creme? You guys got those up here?" "They were replicated molecularly based on scanned samples. We synthesized them without preservatives." Josh raised an eyebrow. "So they'll probably go bad in what, 5 minutes?" 42 seconds, Xelarr said. "Please sit." The chamber resembled a dental clinic fused with a laboratory. Transparent walls allowed 3 other Varnac observers to monitor from adjacent rooms. Each of them wore cognition shields to prevent emotional bias. One of them, a junior analyst named Rarin, had been assigned to catalog post-ingestion neural responses. Josh sat in a contoured chair, surrounded by soft white light. A mechanical arm extended and presented a single bright green cake, sealed in a clear cube. "Do I have to eat it with utensils?" "No, your standard method will yield more accurate data." Josh tore the cube open and took a bite. "Still tastes like toothpaste, wrapped in a sugar brick." Rarin tapped a console. Cortical activity just spiked in regions associated with childhood memory retrieval. "Yeah," Josh said, mouth full. "Had these at every soccer game I ever lost." The analysis arm adjusted its position and emitted a fine beam of blue light over his torso. "Your cardiovascular system is responding with increased efficiency," Xelarr observed. "Unexpected. We anticipated vascular resistance due to high glucose concentration." Josh shrugged. "You ever run on sugar and shame? It's a potent combo." Behind the glass, Rarin whispered something to another analyst. Xelarr caught the words. "Neurochemical resilience exceeds projections." Josh leaned back and closed one eye. "So, what's next? You gonna make me drink something radioactive?" "You will consume a carbonated beverage with an ingredient list exceeding 200 separate compounds." Josh looked impressed. "That's gotta be a record. Can I keep the can?" "It is not a can. It is a containment vessel fabricated from inert polymers." Josh took the object and examined it. "Still feels like a can." He popped it open and took a sip. A faint fizz echoed through the room. "Describe the taste," Xelarr said. "Like a cherry fell into a vat of battery acid and made peace with it," Rarin called out from behind the glass. "Liver enzymes upregulated in less than 15 seconds. Josh raised the drink. "Cheers to that." "Your body is producing counter-metabolites faster than predicted," Xelarr said. "You have not trained for this event?" Josh wiped his mouth. "I mean, I've had worse. Once drank an energy drink that doubled as engine degreaser." Xelarr turned toward the observation console. "Proceed to Phase 2. Introduce thermal variance." A section of the wall retracted, revealing a tray of objects kept at varying temperatures. One glowed faintly, with internal heat. Another emitted a light frost. Josh hesitated. "You want me to eat these too?" "Only the one marked with a blue seal. It has undergone repeated freeze-thaw cycles to simulate improper storage." Josh picked it up. Smells like freezer burn and regret. He took a bite, chewed, and winced. Texture's all wrong, like chewing a sponge that's been through a divorce. Report any abnormal sensations. Mostly disappointment. 15 minutes passed with steady monitoring. Josh's body temperature remained within range. His digestive tract showed minor inflammation, but nothing approaching critical. Then came a beep from Raren's station. Unscheduled spike in histamine levels, Raren said. Possible immune alert. Xelarr moved closer. Josh, do you feel constriction in the lungs, swelling of the face? Little itchy, Josh admitted, rubbing his arm. But I've had worse. Once had a reaction to shellfish and still finished the plate. Administering antihistamine, Xelarr said, pressing a panel on the wall. A fine mist sprayed into the chamber. Josh blinked. That's your version of Benadryl? Binds to mast cell receptors and suppresses inflammatory signaling. Fancy. Works fast, too. I feel normal again. Xelarr turned to Raren. Document adaptive immune response latency. Human subjects stabilized without systemic collapse. Josh leaned back. So, how'd I do? You continue to violate nutritional logic, Xelarr said. Your body exhibits compensatory mechanisms that defy comparative models. Josh smiled. We're stubborn. That's our secret weapon. Noted. At the end of the session, Josh was escorted to the recovery suite, a small room with a reclining chair and a holographic window displaying a view of rural Montana. He stared at it for a while, then turned to Xelarr. You ever wonder why we eat the way we do? Xelarr adjusted the data tablet. Your behavior appears irrational from a biochemical standpoint. Yeah, but it's not always about biology. Sometimes it's about comfort, familiarity, even if it hurts going down. Raren entered with a nutrient rebalancer. You should ingest this before sleep. It will prevent gastric fermentation. Josh took it and downed it in one gulp. Tastes like dry oatmeal and printer ink. That is the intended profile. Of course it is. Several hours later, Xelarr reviewed the day's recordings. He marked timestamps for unexpected enzyme shifts, cross-referenced them with emotional cues, and submitted a request for psychological overlay analysis. Before leaving, he paused at the observation window. Josh was still awake, staring at the simulated landscape. Xelarr tapped the comm panel. You are scheduled for a rest cycle. Josh nodded. Needed. To see something that looked like home. Xelarr hesitated. Does the illusion reduce stress? A bit, but it's not the trees or the sky I miss. It's the part where you know what everything tastes like without needing a translator. Familiarity as a stabilizer, hypothesis accepted. Josh chuckled. You learn fast. I am designed to. Xelarr powered down the lights. Behind him, the analytic room glowed softly, filled with charts, graphs, and chemical maps of a species that refused to follow rules, even the biological ones. Raren adjusted the neural interface array above Josh's forehead. It stuck with a faint click, aligning itself to his frontal lobe. The human winced. Feels like a cold spoon on my brain. It is reading electrical fluctuations from the outer cortex, Raren said, double-checking the calibration. No penetration, no discomfort is intended. Yeah, well, your equipment's got the bedside manner of a tax audit. Josh sat upright on the diagnostic recliner, arms resting on the flat metal supports. The suit he wore had been updated, thinner, vented at the joints, and embedded with real-time metabolic readouts. A thin panel on his forearm blinked green. You are currently at a postprandial baseline, said Xelarr, who was observing from the adjacent console. This is an ideal state for the cognitive ingestion simulation. Josh looked between them. You gonna make me eat something with my mind now? Not precisely, said Raren. We are introducing visual and olfactory stimuli without actual consumption. Your autonomic responses will determine if your body initiates digestive preparation based on perception alone. You're checking if I salivate at the sight of a cheeseburger. Among other variables. Xelarr confirmed. The lights dimmed. A screen unfolded in front of Josh, projecting a rotating image, a steaming bowl of gumbo, then a cross-section of lasagna, then cornbread baked in a cast-iron skillet. Josh's pupils dilated. Rurin's console lit up. Salivary glands active. Pancreatic enzymes increased. Preemptive insulin released. "That's without a bite," said Josh. "I'm not even hungry." "You were exhibiting a conditioned physiological response to visual food cues," Rerin said. "Your body is preparing for caloric intake based on expectation." "Yeah, that's called watching cooking shows at midnight." Xelarr input the next sequence. The screen now displayed 27 plates of food, all in succession. A breakfast sandwich, pickled herring, funnel cake, beef liver, gelatin cubes in neon colors, and something unidentifiable, but clearly deep-fried. Josh leaned back. "Okay, now I'm confused and a little nauseous." "Stomach motility has slowed," Rerin observed. "Cognitive dissonance, degrading appetite." "Too much, too fast," Josh muttered. "That happens when you scroll through food delivery apps but nothing looks good." Xelarr nodded. "We will narrow the stimulus." The projection changed again. Now it was a single item. A peanut butter and banana sandwich, slightly overripe on white bread. Josh blinked. "Grandma used to make that when I was homesick." "Endogenous dopamine rising," Rerin said. "No sugar intake, emotional memory alone is stimulating reward centers." "Yeah, that tracks." "Your species' digestive readiness can be influenced by nostalgia?" Josh nodded. "Smell, memory, comfort food, it's all wired together." Burns saved the sequence. "That explains the inconsistency in your species' appetite regulation." "Tell me about it." After the session, they walked him to the biomechanical treadmill, where they could evaluate exertion under food stress. Josh raised one eyebrow at the angled incline. "This thing gonna test if I can run after a burrito?" "You will walk at a consistent pace while experiencing simulated gastrointestinal discomfort," Xelarr said. "This will assess your tolerance to mobility under digestive strain." "So like a stress test with a stomach ache?" "Correct." Josh stepped onto the treadmill. The harness locked around his torso with a hiss. A faint vibration began under his feet. "We will simulate mild bloating, followed by delayed gastric emptying," said Rerin. "Indicators have been calibrated to human thresholds." "Is this going to hurt?" "You will experience discomfort but no harm. You may stop at any time." Josh exhaled. "Let's get this over with." The treadmill began moving, slowly at first, then faster. Rerin activated the simulation. Josh's face tightened. "Yup, that's cramping. Right there in the lower left." "Continue walking," said Xelarr. 5 minutes passed. Sweat gathered at Josh's temples. His breathing stayed steady, but his hands clenched. "Describe your symptoms." "Sloshy. Like there's a brick in there, not sharp but firm." "Pain level?" 5, maybe 6. I've worked through worse." "You are maintaining locomotion despite internal resistance," said Rerin. Josh grunted. "Ever tried jogging to a bathroom with food poisoning? Human survival skill." The treadmill slowed. The simulation ended. Josh stepped off and leaned on a support rail. "Any nausea?" "Nope, just sore and annoyed." "That is remarkable," said Rerin. "You maintained function under moderate internal distress." "Well, sometimes you don't get to stop. You just walk it off, or deal with it until you can lie down." Xelarr turned to the console. "Your species voluntarily continues activity during digestive pain?" "Most of us. We're used to multitasking. Work lunch, coffee stomach, spicy regret, it's all part of the schedule." Rerin looked between them. "Why ingest substances that interrupt your function?" Josh laughed. "Because sometimes they taste good, or you don't have a choice, or you're in a rush, or it's free." "Free? Huh?" Rerin tilted his head. "You will trade physical discomfort for economic efficiency?" "Yeah. You ever seen free pizza in an office break room disappear? Doesn't matter how old it is." There was a pause. Xelarr blinked slowly. So your decisions are not based solely on survival or pleasure, but context-specific compromise. Exactly. That afternoon, Josh was cleared for the final trial, recovery response. He was given a standardized meal, low-sodium broth, soft grains, and a protein gel, then monitored for 2 hours in a reclined position. The goal was to measure how quickly his system returned to baseline after stress. You may sleep if needed, Xelarr said, adjusting the lighting in the chamber. Josh pulled the blanket over his legs. This one's not so bad. 30 minutes later, he was asleep. Rerin watched the slow, even rhythm of his vitals. He stabilizes quickly. There is resilience, said Xelarr, but also a practiced tolerance. He anticipates discomfort and adapts. It's not just biology, Rerin said. It's behavior. By evening, Josh was awake and stretching. So, am I officially the weirdest eater you've seen? You are statistically anomalous, said Xelarr, but not unique. Your species demonstrates a trend. Josh grinned. Humanity, making bad food decisions work since forever. Your body's ability to buffer, recover, and function under constant dietary assault is not replicable, Rerin said. Even species engineered for toxic digestion systems lack your neurological override mechanisms. Well, thanks, I think. Xelarr handed him a small data crystal. This contains a summary of your tests. You may keep it. Josh turned it over in his hand. What am I supposed to do with it? Show it to other humans. Perhaps they can explain what we cannot. Josh laughed. I'll bring it to the next barbecue. Final scans confirmed full recovery, no permanent effects, no lingering inflammation, no organ stress. As Josh packed his things, Rerin approached with a final question. Would you willingly stop eating food that causes discomfort? Josh zipped his bag. Probably not, but I might space it out better. Deeply confusing. That's humans. We do the wrong thing carefully. He stepped into the transport chamber. Lights shimmered. The door closed. Rerin stared at the empty space for several seconds. Xelarr placed the final entry into the record. Subject demonstrated full systemic resilience, context-dependent decision-making, and self-aware ingestion of known irritants. Conclusion: human metabolism is not efficient. It is relentless. They archived the file under adaptive aberrations. No further testing was scheduled. None was needed.